independent Bernie Sanders, I should have said. So he raises a good point. You need to read it. Fair concern, Senator. But this entire bill is only 3 pages long. 3 pages. So busy, Senator Sanders, so busy, you can't read the 3 pages. Mark Thiessen is a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Mark, if the disingenuousness reeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish you had told Speaker Pelosi that we ought to read bills before we pass them. That would have been helpful in Obamacare.
This was just 3 pages. Not really. It's only 2.5, really, if you look at it.
Exactly. I mean, this is ridiculous. Look, what Senator Sanders is doing is he is doing the bidding of the public worker unions. What this comes down to, this is about one thing. It's about money. It's about public worker union money. The fact is there are civil service regulations in place that are so strict that it's virtually impossible to fire a career employee of the senior executive service. Even if they sink. Senator Coburn has documented that we have lost 2.5 million man-days of civil service work for people who just don't show up to work and don't get fired. I mean, you cannot fire a federal worker because the public sector unions have made it impossible. And so what's happening here is Democrats are put in a position where they have to choose between 2 constituencies. Veterans on one hand who are outraged by these abuses, and the public worker unions who are one of the single largest contributors to the Democratic Party.
Well, it didn't seem to be a problem for the Democrats in the House who voted overwhelmingly in favor of this bill.
Well, a lot of the leaders, 30 of the 33 who voted against it, includes Steny Hoyer, who's a member of the Democratic leadership. But look, I'm speculating here, but it may have been known that they could vote for this. It's a free vote because Senator Sanders is going to take the bullet in the Senate and kill this. So, they get to cover and say we voted for this, but Senator Sanders, who's taken $250,000 from the public worker unions, is standing in the way and is going to kill this in the Senate. So it's a free vote.
Even when you've got dead veterans, that's not enough for them to say, we need to have some real changes. And it goes way beyond. I mean, it's okay. So Senator Sanders doesn't like this bill. He can't find time in his busy schedule to read 2.5 pages. But it goes way beyond that, Mark, as we just outlaid with Chairman Miller. For years, they've refused to take this seriously. And it's not just President Obama, but the past 6 years have been on his watch.
No, that's absolutely true. And look, Congressman Miller has also proposed a key solution, which is giving the cabinet secretary the power to fire incompetent workers responsible for this. I mean, if VA workers and VA senior executives were worried about getting fired, we probably wouldn't have these abuses because they would be worried about having consequences for their actions. There is a culture of impunity in government bureaucracies that allows these abuses to happen. We saw it in the GSA, we've seen it in the IRS, and now we're seeing it at the VA. If you can't fire somebody for gross incompetence, including the death of veterans, if the death of veterans can't get us to the point where we can fire somebody for incompetence, then we're in a really sad place, and the public worker unions run the country, not the government.
Even when their behavior has been repeatedly called out as prohibited by Inspector General reports and so on, even when they're found to have violated their own internal mandates, they still can't be fired. Mark, good to see you.
Thanks, Megan.